Hello, good morning, or good early afternoon, everybody. It's Angie Atkinson, and I'm here today with the lovely and talented Dana Morningstar. Dana, welcome back.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, hello. Happy to have you. Oops, let me mute myself. Okay, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Great. Hello. All right. Right on. So what has been going on with you this week? How's everything been going?
It's going. Hopefully we're going to hear more from the insurance people about the next phase of all of this. So we are waiting to see.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
fingers crossed.
I'm with you. That's rough. That's rough. Hopefully everything works out in the best possible way. Yeah, absolutely.
And if it doesn't, we'll just cross that bridge when we get to it. It's one of those things like you can only worry about stuff for so much. And it's like, it's not even helpful to even worry about it at all. Like it's going to go down the way it goes down. And
totally,
so.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, your hair is looking pretty fabulous today. I'm just saying.
Thank you. Yes, I actually blow dried it. It's amazing.
Here I am. Mine's still wet. It looks gross. Anyway. Okay. All right. Let's be real today, everybody. Okay. So I know a lot of times when we do this, what you'll come in and you'll have some really great idea or something you heard recently, anything like that today with you that you're thinking about right now.
Oh, no, but it's funny that you should mention that because I was thinking something along the same lines the other day. And I was thinking, I should write some of this stuff down so we can open these live streams with a topic. Cause I'm sure you have the same thing, like throughout the week.
Yeah.
You hear these little nuggets, you're like, that's really good. We should talk about that. But nothing comes to mind right now, but for next week, and from there on out, I will have
right on
a nugget I've pulled out.
Right on. I did hear one thing I thought was really strange. That was about yoga. There was a study done about yoga, and they said that people who do yoga are more likely to be narcissists. And I don't think that's true at all. I think they just meant, I think what they were implying was that those people had higher self-confidence. And I don't think that we've talked before. I don't think self-confidence and narcissism really go together very well, but people mistake it sometimes. What do you think? Do you think that's an accurate study?
Yeah, I guess I would be curious to know, like, how are they defining narcissism? But I will say at the same time, I do think that there is a lot of problematic people in a lot of spiritual circles. And I think the New Age movement is kind of a mecca for a lot of them.
For sure.
And it's, I think it just goes back to, there is no safe space out there. So I think the main point with that is, it's important for people to realize there is no kind of getting around, just going slow, taking your time, getting to know people, because there's problematic people in every city, in every country, in every religion, and every practice, and they're just out there. So we have to have healthy boundaries at all times.
For sure. Yeah, totally agree with you on that. We have quite a few people here today. We have, let's see, hello, VIP Kid, Terry Bell, Sam. Let's see. Sam wants to know how we are. I'm doing pretty well. How are you? Anna and Yeska and Child of God. Hello, everybody. Hello, Ron Nelson. BMF Happy. Great name. Love that. Kevin, Sam again. Okay. Oh, Sam says to you, best of luck on the insurance. So there's that. Fallen 69. Hello. Carlita Vega. Hello, Miss Carlita. How are you, my friend? Miss K, Lynn H-Town, James F, Trisha. We've got the whole gang here today. This is great. Welcome, everybody. Okay. I have a question. Here it goes. It's from VIP Kid, who's also Wildflower, if you remember. She says, do you have tips for self-care in regard to motivation around keeping the clutter out of the home? When I'm low, my home reflects it. I think that's normal. Dana, what do you think?
Oh man, that's so me. That for me, that's probably the best indicator of depression and overwhelm that I have is my external environment is a very spot on reflection of my internal environment.
Same.
So the fact that I think that you're aware of that, where you're like, yeah, this clutter is piling up, like I'm losing things, I'm just feeling really scattered. Everybody has, I think, different ways that we can tell that we're off. Like some people might realize, oh, I'm sleeping a lot, or I'm really irritable, or they might notice like, oh, I'm eating more than I normally do, or I'm eating different foods than I normally do, or I'm eating less than I normally do. But if that's kind of your tell, where you're like, okay, something's off, it's my environment. Doing little things to get yourself on track. So something that helps me is we clean every Friday. So, and it's, we clean the whole house. So that way it's just kind of this mental note in my mind of like, this is just when we do that. And because when I'm feeling overwhelmed, the days blur together.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that structure, I mean, it's really wild. I'll get into my car or I'll go into my closet and I'm like, what happened in here? And it's like, I just get so used to seeing the clutter until it's so bad, or until somebody else comes into my space and then they make a comment, or it might even be a look.
Yeah.
And then I'm just horrified because I see my space through their eyes. So I think having a structure, having a routine of like, okay, this is the day that I for sure clean my house, or I clean certain areas in your house, or even setting aside 10 minutes at the end of every day to do it. And, cleaning doesn't have to be a chore. Like I try to double up things. So like I'm a big podcast listener, and so I will listen to some of my favorite podcasts while I clean.
Yeah. I like to listen to music myself while I clean. Same.
Yeah. There you go. And so then it's kind of just, it's not a chore. It's more like self-care. It's just kind of your time to be able to just putz around and clean or do whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you something that helps me. I only learned this a few years ago, but one of the things that makes a house look the most cluttered is a surface. So if you can walk around your house and clean off one surface, like your coffee table, or for me, it's my entryway table. It's crazy. And just take 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. I don't even care if you put it all in a basket. Just look at one clean surface in your house and see how much better that makes you feel. It's a tiny thing. And when you feel like completely overwhelmed by the clutter that you're dealing with, if you just take one surface, clean it off, and then look at it, it'll already start to make you feel better. And the same thing, don't you think so?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm all about one thing. Do one thing. And if you feel like it after you do that one thing, do more things. But if that one thing is, enough for you, then just look at that one surface, make sure it's the surface wherever you look the most often. And then what happens if you give yourself permission to stop is that you can stop and not feel guilty about it. But if you also, because for me, saying to me that I have to clean all day every Friday, that's too much. I can't even pretend that I'm going to do that. But I can say that I would clean off one surface if I felt overwhelmed. One surface, big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, that's been the key, is that if I say, okay, I'm going to spend 5 minutes and clean off this table. And if this table, when I'm done with it, if I'm done, then that's fine. I'm done. And I'll just do some more tomorrow. But if you can do, 10 minutes a day, cleaning off one surface a day, and then make your way around your house or whatever. But it's the surfaces that both feel cluttered and that make you feel more open about things. So, and of course, getting rid of things that you don't need, getting rid of trash, getting rid of, like your high school boyfriend's jacket that you haven't seen in 50 years or whatever. But really do one thing and then see where that takes you. That's my suggestion, in addition to what Dana said.
I agree. There's a lot to be said for just building momentum. I think it's that way with so many things, like I know when I go to write a book, the hardest part is sitting down to actually write.
Truth.
And there's a great book out there called The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield, and he talks about resistance. And we all encounter this, even if we're not writing a book. And it's just that kind of feeling of overwhelm that keeps us from doing what we want to go do. And I think just realizing that we're going to encounter that resistance, especially if we're already feeling overwhelmed by something. Yeah. So like, for example, if I go to sit down to work on a book, I don't think of it as I'm going to work on my book, because that's really overwhelming. I'll just think to myself, I'm just going to kind of chip away at this one chapter and just try to get down like 500 or 1,000 words. And I can kind of get through that pretty easily. And then it's just amazing. It's just doing that. Or if I'm trying to build up the motivation to go to the gym or whatever, to just put out my workout clothes ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then it's half the battle for me is just actually getting tennis shoes on and going outside for, like, it's not even like the walk itself or going to the gym. It's just getting the workout clothes. It's just showing up and getting to that step. So
absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot to be said for it. And I think building momentum is the perfect way to, because really a body in motion tends to stay in motion and all that. And that's really the truth. That, like, when, this is hilarious. I'm going to just say this, then we can move on. But when you mentioned going to the gym and stuff like that, one of the things that, that I've struggled with, as everybody probably knows, is my weight over the years. And when I lost 100 pounds 5 years ago now or whatever, eventually after 60 pounds, I had to start exercising because I plateaued. And at that point, I would literally, you guys are going to laugh, but I would be like, okay, well, I'm just going to walk around my couch 5 times. That's all. That's all I have to do, 5 times. And that was nothing, And then I'd be like, okay, well, I can do it 5 more times. And eventually this led to me walking miles and in real life. But this was how I started to exercise. And I probably need to start doing that again.
Oh, girl, I hear you. Me too, but it's just building. It really is just building back up that momentum and keeping at it. And VIP Kid was saying, she's been picking one project a day, and most days she succeeds. And
Yep. And another thing, she said, seeing my mess through others' eyes is big. And I can relate to that, because every single time I'm like, okay, we're going to have people over, I start looking at my house differently. And just right now, we have somebody coming in July, at the end of July, to stay a weekend with us. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, my office. Oh my gosh, the towel bar in the bathroom, like little things that I normally just overlook, that I don't really care about that much. But now I'm like, they're going to judge me, which I know they're not, but it's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Pam Hall says she has no time to clean the whole house, but the workplace is spotless. I can dig that. And Lakeisha said she doesn't let anyone in her house when she's low, and I can understand that as well. Yeah. All right. You have another one for us, Dana?
Let's see. Miss K mentions about attachment disorders and says, I was watching last Wednesday's live stream where people were talking about attachment styles. Narcissists can have any type of attachment style, as well as survivors can also have any type of attachment style. And she says, many insecure attachments are actually quite mild, and they aren't necessarily problematic at all. They just describe the differences between people. And yes, and I would agree. Like, and even still, even if a person has an attachment disorder, I know this might sound harsh, but like, it really doesn't matter. I think when we start flipping things around to figure ourselves out and like what works for us, then all of the other like intricacies of trying to figure out another person and what's going on with them, and do they have a personality disorder or an attachment disorder, or, an untreated mental illness, or like this, that, and the other, all of that stuff just kind of falls by the wayside, because we realize that all we have control over is ourselves. And how much of ourselves we actually kind of give to other people, and kind of where our boundaries and deal breakers and standards are as far as like how we're being treated. So,
and I think that, to reiterate what you said, or to reinforce it or add to it or whatever, again, it doesn't matter if they're a narcissist or if they have an attachment disorder or if they're, purple. It doesn't matter what you call them. If they're hurting you or they're toxic to your life, they're not healthy for you, period. I think that's the most important thing. I've had so many people say to me, hey, well, I don't know if this person fits all of these 27 qualities, but they're abusing me. and should I leave? And I'm like, you just said they're abusing you. Like, what else is there to say? You know what I mean? And I know that there are in some situations, like there's somebody with a traumatic brain injury and they demonstrate the qualities of a toxic narcissist sometimes because they can't feel empathy anymore or whatever because of their brain injury. And then in those cases, people feel obligated to continue to care for that person and be in that person's life. And I respect that. But at the same time, I don't know, there's got to be a breaking point at which you say, I can't continue to make the rest of my life miserable because this person, is injured or damaged. We're all damaged in different ways by life, by childhood, by whatever, right? I mean, I don't know, I'm going off topic, but.
Well, but I think, yeah, like you're saying, everybody needs, if a person is dangerous and destructive to you for whatever reason, then we need to have some sort of boundary there to limit that destruction, whether regardless of they might have Alzheimer's or a brain injury or, a personality disorder, whatever is going on. I mean, my grandmother used to live with us, right? And she had Alzheimer's, and that didn't give her a free pass to just do whatever in the house. And when her behavior got to the point where we were like, this isn't safe, like she's going to hurt us or she's going to hurt herself. And if it wasn't intentional, but it still made the living situation unsafe.
Yes.
And so at that point, she had to go into a home. And then down the road, when, anyways, then she ended up eventually moving back in with us when she was to the point where she was no longer as active and as much of a danger. She wasn't dangerous at that point, moved back in. So it's just kind of having those boundaries at all times and figuring out, like, what do I need to do in order to keep myself safe and sane?
Right. And it's definitely not about lack, and especially in the case of your grandmother, not about lack of love for that person, because it's also, in her case, unsafe for her.
Right.
I would assume. But in general, it's never about a lack of love. It's always from you to them. It's always about the danger and the toxicity of it. And I don't think anyone should be scared in their house, on a regular basis. So anyway, all right. Yeah. Do you have another one for us, or is it my turn? I can't even remember. Okay, Miss K. Let's see. Oh, Bonnie said something I wanted to talk about really quick. She said that she's got people coming at her from every direction, needing all of her basically time and energy. I can't find the post right now, but I thought that was an important thing. Sorry, my Skype just.
Okay.
I thought that it was important because I think we all go through that, where we have those moments where we just feel like everybody's coming at us from every direction. We're overwhelmed. We don't know what to do. I had one of those moments yesterday and I had to stop and take a deep breath and go, okay. And here I come back with my one thing again. I had to do just one thing. And it wasn't because it was because I had so many different people needing my attention, needing my time at the same time. And I felt and I was trying to, because I'm trying to take the 4th of July off, I was trying to take care of some of my usual Wednesday people on Monday, and it was crazy. And so I was very overwhelmed. And so I just took a deep breath and I said, okay, I have to solve this problem, this problem, this problem. I'm going to start right here and do this one thing. And I did it, and then immediately felt better because I knew, okay, I can handle it. I got this. You know what I'm saying? One thing sometimes. And so as far as Bonnie goes, I'm going to reiterate what Dana said just a little while ago. Boundaries. You got to have them, and you've got to stand up for them, stand behind them, and don't allow people to step over, and I know that's hard for you, Bonnie. It's hard for all of us. And I know Bonnie's situation is specifically a little different because she's taking care of an elderly mother who's also a narcissist, and she's still dealing with a narcissist husband at home. So she really doesn't have anywhere to, to turn where she's not dealing with a narcissist.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but I know that, Bonnie, before you were talking about, you were doing all of this holistic healthcare stuff, and I hope you're still doing some of that. And I'd love to hear Dana's thoughts on this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think with, boundaries, kind of thinking, okay, what can I somewhat leverage off? Does insurance cover any type of like relief care for your mother? And can you carve out some time where you're like, okay, these are the days and the times where I'm going to go run errands or just have some downtime where you just leave the house, even if you just go sit at the park and have lunch, carving out your space. And just because she's elderly or whatever's going on doesn't mean that you're going to be at her every beck and call. Like she's not going to like it that you're setting boundaries, but I'm just letting you know it's okay for you to do that. So if she's using guilt, I mean, to try to, and as a former nurse, like you have to protect that, or you're going to have caregiver burnout, and you're just going to, you're going to make yourself sick, and you're going to end up collapsing, and it's just not going to end well, because it's too much. It's too much for any one person to give and give and give 24 hours a day. Even if you want to give 24 hours a day, it's too much.
That's right. So. Yeah. You have to give back to yourself, because as you know, Bonnie, no one else is going to do that for you right now. And I'm sorry. Yeah, that's hard. Okay. Did you have another one for us?
I do. This is from the dentist, who says, "Hi, Angie. Tell me about narcissists with a certain degree of empathy."
Well, I think all narcissists can pretend or demonstrate empathy if they choose to in some cases. Not that it's genuine, but I've seen many narcissists demonstrate empathy in different situations. For example, when they're love bombing, when they're hoovering, when they're trying to hurt you by being empathetic to another person who isn't you, things like that. Do I think they actually have empathy? I think that they can deduce that, okay, this is how I feel, this is how you feel, this is, by the look on your face or whatever. But no, I don't think they have genuine empathy when they are narcissistic. But I think that there is a scale, a spectrum of narcissism. And I think you've got people who just want to take a bunch of selfies, and then you've got people who are psychopathic and everything in between. You know what I mean? I think that's what I think. Dana, thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree. And I think this goes back to, compartmentalizing people, like those that either have empathy or that they don't. And like most things, especially personality traits, are not so cut and dry. Right. And my main concern whenever we kind of get questions like this is if people are thinking, well, if a narcissist has empathy, let's say they're really great to their pets, or they're really nice to their coworkers, then that somehow means that they're not a narcissist, which somehow means that they can change. And that kind of takes them down this trail, this like bunny trail of kind of false assumptions.
Yeah.
And it just goes back to your boundaries, your standards, your deal breakers. And they may or may not have empathy. They may or may not, any number of things. But if they're treating you in a way that's unacceptable, then we need to do something in order to do damage control and to, so you can protect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. 100%. Yeah.
I mean, Bill Cosby, according to his wife, was a fantastic husband. And there were lots of people that worked with him on set who thought he was a fantastic guy. Yeah. But there's also a lot of people out there that are like, no, he's not a fantastic guy. So just because a person can demonstrate empathy and caring and compassion and can come across like this great person to certain people, if they're out there doing like horrific things, then we need to focus on like the horrific things that we're doing and not gloss over that.
I agree. I totally agree. And I think Bill Cosby's an excellent example of this, because he was like America's dad for decades, because of that show. And I mean, to imagine, a lot of these actors have shocked the holy shnikes out of me when we're talking about this Me Too thing and all that. I can't even, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman was on that list. And I thought, are you kidding me? I mean, I thought he was way above that. I was shocked to hear that. But anyway, moving right along.
I haven't heard that. I'm going to have to look that up. That makes me really sad, because I freaking love Morgan Freeman.
Me too, I thought. I'm really disappointed about that. Some of them didn't surprise me as much, but some of them just blew me away. I mean, if I hear about Tom Hanks, I'm going to cry. I'm just in advance. Anyway. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. This one is a really good question from Trisha. She says, I have been no contact with my mother for 20 months now. I still feel haunted by her. I'm 45 and she's still in my head. Any tips? What do you start with, Dana? You got anything for her?
Can you repeat that?
Yes. I have been no contact with my mother for 20 months now. I still feel haunted by her. I'm 45, but she's still in my head. Any tips?
I guess I would question, like, what is haunting you about her?
Yeah. I think that's a good start. I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think if it were, I was trying to see if she put anything else in here. But I think that for me, having been no contact with my own mother for quite some time, the thing that's in your head is her lack of approval of you, her invalidation of you, possibly her abuse. And you might still have her voice in the back of your head, right? So, like every time you try to start a new thing, you might hear her go, "You're going to fail." Or every time you think, "Okay, I'm going to date this new person," or "I'm going to, you know, I'm going to, I don't know, whatever. I'm going to wear a new dress," or "I'm going to, whatever." You're going to always hear her disapproval in the back of your head of whatever you're doing. And you're going to doubt yourself. You're going to think you're not good enough. You're going to spend a lot of time doing that. And I just did a video yesterday that with a little exercise that helps with this. And I'm just going to really quickly review it. Write down all those things that she's saying in your head, all that haunting. Write it all down. What are the self-perceptions that you picked up from her that are not good for you? Write them all down, all the negatives, and then let it sit overnight. Next morning, wake up, take a look at them again, and go down the list. And each one, I want you to cross off the perception that your mother, the self-perception, the lie that your mother told you about yourself. And if it is, "I don't look good in red," cross it off. "I look freaking amazing in red." You know what I'm saying? Come up with a new truth that better fits you and who you are, who you want to be, because you get to decide. Start there. Dana, thoughts? Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I guess I like that. Just writing down, getting specific, like what really is bothering you, like what is keeping you awake at night, and then that way you'll know, like you'll be able to address it point by point.
Yeah.
That's a great piece of advice.
Well, thank you. And the only other thing I would add to that is imagine, doing the pattern interrupt thing. If you constantly focus on it and stress about it, if you find yourself doing it, tell yourself to stop and you can like change your neural pathways and the connections and all the things by not continuing the same behavior. So every time you go to ride a bike, you hear your mom in your ear telling you that you're going to fall off the bike, imagine yourself pushing her out of your head, or get off the bike for a minute, do 10 jumping jacks and tell yourself, "Okay, I'm going to rock this," and get back on the bike, go brush your teeth, whatever it is. Come out, use a pattern interrupt to change your thoughts and then change your mind, literally and physically. Anyway, anything else?
Yeah, no, I like that.
Thank you.
Good point. Here is a question from Mike, who says, when a friend stops responding to calls and emails and only texts when they need something, what is a good way to confront that situation? I don't want to be friends anymore, but I don't want to be mean.
Oh, well, I think if you don't want to be friends anymore, then stop responding when they need something from you. It's like a fade away. And that would be the least confrontational way to do it. The other thing you could do is just straight up say, "Look, I don't want to be friends anymore. This isn't working for me." But honestly, I've never had a lot of success with explaining to someone why I'm not going to talk to them anymore. I generally, if it's a situation like that, I would do the fade away. I would slowly stop responding, or quickly, either way. But if they're only contacting you periodically when they need something from you, it's very easy to stop responding. You can go as far as to block them if it would help you. But I think it just depends on the nature of the relationship and how often they need you. Dana, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to me, there's no sense in like working towards a solution. Like the only benefit I would think to actually confronting them about this would be to resolve it, right? But if you're not wanting to stay friends with this person, then there's nothing really to resolve. It's just like Angie was saying, you kind of just doing the fade away and just not getting back to them. And so then if they do contact you down the road and they need something, I would just say, "Hey, no, I'm busy. Sorry, I can't help." And then odds are, if you quit being there when they, keep needing stuff, then they're going to go find somebody else.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. Yep, agreed. 100%. I have one. I just did one, right?
I just did one, but I have another one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. This is from Bearcats, who says, I was consumed by my narcissist. I had a huge void when I left. How do I not get sucked up by somebody else's needs and lose mine?
Great question. I think that number one, you don't get back into another relationship until you have filled the hole, right? Number two, this is the perfect time to focus on a project that is related to your passion, whatever that is, whether that means you start, writing a book, or you start sewing a quilt, or you start learning how to run marathons. It doesn't matter. Start cooking, something that you feel passionate about and excited about. I would start there. And I would start making a point of when you have free time. If previously you had to come home and rub the narcissist's feet every day, instead of doing that, now come home and paint a picture or cook something amazing or whatever, or take a freaking bath and relax. But take care of yourself. Fill that time with self-love, self-care, and passion for something that makes you feel alive. That's a starting point. What do you think, Dana?
Yeah. And I think, now that you're aware that you do have needs and wants and that they matter, and that this is possible, that we can actually lose all of that if we're too overgiving of ourselves to another person, just having that on your radar is going to prevent a lot of stuff in the future. So if things start going down that path in the future, you can realize, hey, you know what? No, I'm going to keep my friends. I'm going to keep my hobbies. I'm going to keep my life. And if that other person's not okay with it, then you just realize then there's nothing here, because I'm not going to start sacrificing big parts of my life in order to, appease someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. I have one from L. Smith.
Okay.
Who says, question, narcissist ex-husband would not stay employed after we got married, but was employed before marriage. Now
we lost you. Are you there? Or did you lose me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Can you repeat that?
Yes. Sorry about that. Okay. Question, narc ex-husband wouldn't stay employed after we got married, but was employed before marriage. Now has 2 jobs while with the new supply. Is this part of his long con?
I mean, we don't know. We're not in his head, so we don't know what he's thinking or, what his plans are. And this kind of stuff can be crazy making to even try to figure it all out. I think, there really comes a point where we just have to set that down, trying to figure them out and, all of that stuff, and turn that attention back on us and on building up a life that we love.
I agree with that. And I would say that I've seen that before. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. I mean, they tend to morph into whatever they need to morph into, but
to hook you in. Right.
Yeah. I mean, but finding out with any degree of certainty is just an exercise in crazy making.
You're so right. You're so right. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's see here.
Here's one from Una Maria.
All right.
It says, I have no idea what I like anymore. It will take some time to find my passions again. Yes. And this is what Angie was talking about before, with kind of filling that void after a relationship. So many people, myself included, were like, oh no, I feel blown apart. I'm lonely. I'm scared. I'm hurt. And I want to date again. I want to be loved. I want to be happy. I want to go have a normal relationship like other people do. And it, unfortunately, it really, even if it does work out, even if our next relationship is perfect, there's still going to be a lot of stuff within us that's not resolved yet and that isn't healed.
Yeah.
So there is just no shortcut to us figuring out who we are again and understanding our boundaries and standards and deal breakers. That's so critical.
Yep. And I would just add one thing. I would say, if trying to figure out your passion, there are lots of ways you can do that. Just try new things, do different things, but also go to queenbeing.com/passion and download that free workbook, because that'll help too. It's free. It doesn't require email. Yeah. All right. She said, we were talking, she was just talking about really quick. Okay, here we go. Tell Zach, I assume this is CZAK. Good morning. One thing I never hear about is what happens when you reject the narcissist right away. I met this guy at work. I got a bad feeling about him, so I avoided him and he stalked me. I have actually seen that before, but you know what? You did the right thing. And if he stalked you in a way that became dangerous for you or scary for you, then I think always don't ever be afraid to go put it on record with the police. Even if they're not going to necessarily do anything right away, you create documentation by doing that. And then if something happens again, you go back and you say, hey, I need to report this. Maybe they'll go out and talk to him. You know, if he's working with you, maybe talk to your HR people or your manager or whatever and explain what's happened to that person, because I'm pretty sure most companies would fire someone for stalking a fellow employee. I could be wrong, but that's what I think is legally required of them. So Dana, thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, good for you for tuning into your instincts right away and realizing like, hey, you know what, this just doesn't sit well with me at all. And I'm out of here. So the situation, and the fact that he doubled up his behavior and became very obsessive and very, intimidating and fixated on you just shows like you made the right call to stop things with this guy. So,
good for you.
Yeah, good for you for that, because, it just would have been so much worse 6 months down the road.
I agree.
So, and I guess on that point too, this kind of goes back to what we always talk about, because this is just such a common thing for people. And I get it, because I was there. You were probably there too, Angie. Most people are like, I need concrete proof. I need concrete proof that this person is indeed a narcissist or abusive or problematic. But the problem with that, and this is one of the biggest challenges I feel that we face in this community, is getting people to back up enough to realize, don't wait for that concrete proof, because by the time you get it, things are going to be really bad. If you can back things up to be like, you know what, I don't like feeling perpetually confused. I don't like being around emotionally unsafe people. I don't like perpetual confusion, mental anguish, anything, that situation that I just don't have peace about. And because when you know yourself well enough and you're like, these are my new deal breakers, like I just don't even go there, we can bypass so much of this stuff before it gets to be like majorly problematic. So good for you for really tuning inward and listening to your instincts about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know I just did one, but I just want to comment on something that someone said regarding the clutter thing really quick. The Shamrock says, I have MS and cleaning and bringing in income every week as a single mom is completely physically overwhelming. I had to realize that I work enough to afford cleaning help and just release that. She said her ex-narc used to tell her that she wasn't allowed to pay for it because he wanted to see her put in the effort. He had no empathy. And I'm going to just be really honest with you. I pay someone to come to my house on Fridays and clean up, do some of the deep cleaning stuff too, because I don't have time or the inclination. I would rather give my time to y'all than to spend. I mean, I still do obviously a certain amount of cleaning, but he does the main rooms in the house and the part that the rest of the world sees. And it makes my life better. It does. He's also a friend of mine. And so that works out nicely as well. But it's a matter of, being able to start the weekend with fresh floors or whatever. And it helps me feel better. So, and it's relatively affordable. I mean, inexpensive for me. So that, works out. Cool. Okay. Moving right along. You got one for us?
I do. This is from Mickey, who says, I wrote my ex-narcissist an email asking him to please stop contacting me so I can move on. He didn't respond. It's been 2 weeks. Is it finally over or will he try again? I just want him to stop. Angie, what do you think?
I think stop thinking about it. If he hasn't talked to you.
Oh, you cut out, or I cut out.
Let me know if I'm back.
Okay, you're back.
Okay. This stupid internet. Okay. I've had trouble, but I recently got an upgrade, so hopefully it'll continue to get better. Okay. Can you repeat the question? I got
Sure. She says, I wrote my ex narcissist an email asking him to please stop contacting me so I can move on. He didn't respond. It's been 2 weeks. Is it finally over or will he try again?
Okay. I think that a couple things here. Number one, probably he's going to take some time to do whatever he's doing because it's irrelevant. We can't, like Dana said earlier, we don't know what his motivation is or what he's doing. But number two, stop worrying about it so much. Stop stressing about it. Start focusing on yourself and your own healing and your own life and your own passions and self-care and all that stuff. And number three, most narcissists come back at least once or many times, sometimes, as long as you let them. But if you shut it all down and you stop allowing that person to suck you back in by not responding when he tries, then I think at this point, unless you're worried about physical danger, it's completely up to you as to whether or not it's over. Decide that it's over and let it be over and start living your life. That would be my suggestion. Dana, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it can be good to just have your like emotional shields up. If you're a Star Trek fan at all, like I am, they would have, Picard would say like, okay, shields up, and then they're going to go in and then they're going to move through some area of the galaxy. It's the same way when we're dealing with a narcissist. Keep your emotional shields up and you keep moving forward and kind of getting a game plan ahead of time of like, okay, you know what? It's okay. If he does contact me again, I'm not going to let this knock me off balance. I'm not going to let this ruin my day. I'm going to go ahead and set up all of his emails to go directly to my spam folder. I'm going to block him on social media. Maybe you even decide that you're going to create some fake social media profiles that you use for like the next month or two, just so you can breathe, because it's exhausting. And I get it when you're always looking over your shoulder, or your anxiety goes up every time you go on Facebook or you check your email or what have you, and doing what you need to do in order to bring some peace back into your life. If that means changing your phone number, if that means, whatever, taking different ways to work, whatever that might mean for you, just really getting peace in your life a top priority.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So this is just a comment from Crystal I want to share with you. Okay. I heard the other day, she says that we give our best energy to people who don't deserve it. And we need to stop that and give it to those who truly appreciate it or us the most. And I agree with that. Just wanted to share that. This is a question from Sandra that I think is interesting. And let me know what you think. Okay. She says, should we contact his new supply, her and another woman? They met on a non-narc dating site. She feels like the lady needs to know that he cheats. He started looking at her posts when they were dating. He's highly involved in certain physical activities. He cheats, lies, blah, blah, blah. And she thinks the new supply should know. And I'm just going to tell you the same thing I tell everybody when they ask me this question. And that is, I understand why you want to do it. And I think it's noble of you to want to help another female or another person in that situation. However, there's no point. And the reason I say that is because imagine a couple things. Number one, you're going to end up, probably he's talking about you already, saying you're crazy to that person, or you're bad, or you're terrible, or whatever. Number two, that person's being love bombed right now. So that person is not going to want to hear you. And on top of that, they've been told you're crazy. So I think, as Dana put it earlier, it's an exercise in frustration. I think you're just going to make yourself feel frustrated and make her not, make her think bad things about you. Even though you don't care what she thinks, it's not going to change her opinion, unless maybe she's been with a narcissist before. And even then, she's probably still not going to believe you. But Dana, what do you think?
Yeah, odds are she's not going to believe you. We all tend to believe what we want to believe. And there's that saying out there that, hungry hearts eat lies. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard for a person to believe the worst in somebody if they're only seeing the best in somebody.
Truth.
And the level of denial that we can have when this stuff is going on is to a ridiculous level.
Truth.
And
and it's all of us. It's not just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Everybody. Yeah.
Across the board. It's hard for us to accept a problematic situation for what it is when we're holding on to hope that it's not that.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Yep. Got another one for us?
Yeah, here's one from Jessica who says, I'm trying to help my boyfriend who lives with his narcissistic mother. He's 28 years old and a scapegoat. He has a great job, but he won't move out. She's holding him back from living a full life and pushing us apart.
That's hard. I think the first thing you have to recognize is that for 28 years, she's been the primary woman in his life. And it looks like she's not trying to let go of that role very quickly. If he has a great job and he's capable of getting out and doing his own thing, it's kind of on him. You can encourage him and everything else. But the fact is, it sounds to me like there's more going on. And I don't mean in any kind of, I mean, in a manipulation kind of way. Certainly his mother, she could be manipulating him that she, she can't survive without him, or she needs him for this or that or the other. What were we going to say, Dana?
Oh, I agree 100%. I think this is a much bigger problem than you might be currently realizing, because if she's got him so under her thumb, this is something to really talk to him about, because what would happen if you guys get married and have children? If he can't stand up to his mother and she is running his life, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And then she's going to be all in your business, all in your children's business, trying to micromanage everybody, trying to puppeteer him. And it's his lack of boundaries with his mother that's the problem. And until he sees that, nothing will change. And it takes, as we all know, it can take decades for a person to finally get to the place where they could start setting boundaries and saying no and distancing themselves. And it's, I think, so much harder when that person's family, especially if it's a parent, because there's so much like guilt and obligation and pressure from other family members to do what that person wants. And I don't know if there's cultural components to that as well, but there's a very solid chance that this will continue to go on for decades. Yeah. So I think you have to kind of get real with yourself and be like, okay, is this what I want in my life? And at what point do you have a line in the sand? You're like, I can't handle this because I'm not just dating him. I'm obviously dating his mother too. And I don't want there to be three of us in our relationship.
Yeah, I totally agree. Absolutely. And that, the mama's boy thing, it's whether they're narcissistic or not, that mama's boy thing it's real. And I agree with Dana, and I want you to think about that. If you don't have children, obviously I hope that, I don't think you have children yet based on what you said, but Dana made an excellent point, because you can control that right now. You can decide whether you really want that person as your mother-in-law. I'm just saying, maybe you don't. Something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Where was we? Oh yeah, that was just okay. Do you have another one for us, or is it me? Is it my turn? I can't remember.
It's your turn.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, Crystal wants to know, why can they fake it so effectively, as in being nice people and empathy and things like that? That's what makes it so confusing, she says. Thoughts?
Well, I think most rotten people are not rotten 100% of the time, but those of us that are normal, decent people tend to think that rotten people or evil people or problematic people, that we would be able to spot them.
Right.
And so it's like, there's so many, I feel like, important messages and lessons that were not taught to any of us. And so we're now figuring this out kind of later on in life. But, I think when starting with children, like children tend to be taught very cut and dry stuff at a young age. Like, don't talk to the creeper guy in the van that's trying to give you candy. Well, what if the guy's not creepy? Or what if it's not a guy? Or what if they have a puppy? What if she has a puppy and not candy? Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. And that's an excellent, I was just literally thinking that same thing. It's just like when we tell our kids about strangers, really good stuff.
Yeah. So as adults, we tend to think, we see it in movies, right? And we're like, oh, I can tell that person's a bad person. They're dressed all in black. Maybe they're not very attractive looking. Eerie music comes on. And we think that because we're, watching the movie, who is the bad guy, who is the good guy. But in real life, it doesn't work like that. There's a lot of really awful people that they hide behind good.
Yeah.
Because it's really effective. I mean, priests that have molested children and, Bill Cosby type characters who are known for being kind of clean and good and charming when I was a psychiatric nurse, we had a handful of patients that were child molesters and murderers and really problematic people. You wouldn't have guessed it, and they would come in there pleasant as could be. You would have never guessed had you not read their file of what their past was. So this is what I'm saying. Like, we can't go, like, we have to see, like, okay, what if this person is causing you damage in any way, shape, or form, or even giving you a bad vibe? These are the signs. Like, you've got to be able to distance yourself and risk other people thinking that you're overreacting, or that you're mean, or that you're rude, or that you're judgmental, or all of these other things that other people might be thinking. You've got to get yourself to a place that's safe.
Yeah.
And so I think so many of us, we don't like confrontation. We don't like coming across as difficult or rude. I mean, there's been so many times where I have been sitting in traffic and there's been a creepy person that's come up to my car and I've hesitated with locking my doors because I didn't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
So like little things like that, just getting comfortable with like, hey, dude, not you, it's me. Like, I'm not comfortable. I need to make myself comfortable. I just need to get over it. And so, yeah, but a lot of them they can come across as funny and likable. And if you would have met my exes, you would have loved them. Those were the kind of guys that most people would have wanted to introduce to their children.
Yeah.
And just thought, though, that's it. That's the perfect guy.
Yep. And it's really interesting that you said that. My ex was like that, very social, very like everybody loved him the first time they met him. And what's funny is that my current husband, when I first met him, I was like, I don't know about this guy. Because he wasn't putting on any acts. He was just being himself. And sometimes himself, wrapped Eminem in the car on our first date or whatever. And if you saw him, you would know that's funny. But I guess my point is that I agree with you what you're saying.
Yeah, we just have to go slow. Like, none of us are a good judge of character. Like, that only comes with time. But it's much easier to get a false positive than it is to get a false negative. So if you get a funny feeling that person's dangerous, listen to that. It's much more, if you get that negative feeling about somebody, just back things up a little bit to where you can think clearly and you feel safe. But realize that just because this person comes across as charming and wonderful, they may not actually be that way. Yeah. Time will tell.
Exactly. Yep. Good point. Yep. I don't know whose turn it is, but I'm just going to
go for it.
Okay. Tell It Like It Is says, what would happen if I stood up to the narcissist instead of staying silent and ignoring? And I would like to just say, well, Jessica said, tell it like it is, which is the name of the person. This feels like my same situation. Your mom doesn't want you to leave her. She makes you look weak so she can keep you. And I think that's true. But I think what I have found, because I tried 1,000 bazillion times, which I know is an exaggeration, but maybe not, to try to show my mother who I was and what I was about and what I needed from her and all of this stuff. And what did she do but invalidate me? She would just shut me down, roll her eyes, act like I was not even speaking the same language as her, and continue on her merry way, shut me down. That is what she did. And I think, again, I'm going to use that phrase, Dana, huge exercise in frustration. It's only going to make you feel less than and not good enough or pissed off. Either way, one of those things is going to happen. It's not going to. And even if she says, okay, you know what, you're right. I'm a terrible mother. Oh, poor me. There will be that possibility. Or, you know what, you're right, and genuinely seem to hear you, then you'll flip it back around, and before you know it, it's just back to the usual stuff. It's like almost like a form of love bombing or hoovering, sucking you back in. So I believe that you could try it. Maybe you'll get temporary results, but they certainly will not last. You've known this woman your whole life. You know this, right? Sometimes it helps to have somebody else kind of put it out there for you. But as someone who's in a similar situation, this is my experience. What do you think, Dana?
Yeah, well, I think, and tell it like it is, that situation, it sounds like she works for her mother, and her mother is a narcissist. So if that's the case, I would highly recommend looking for a different job.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult anyhow to work with family, even if they're awesome. But working for a difficult, demanding, manipulative, abusive parent,
Mm-hmm.
that's not work. That's not a long-term, that's not going to work. Do you know what I mean? Like if if it's already causing you such
Oh, I see that now.
chaos and strife in your life,
Mm-hmm.
I just, I'd start working on how to break free of that. And then when you do break free of that, you may just want to put it on you and just say, I'd get another job lined up ahead of time. And if you're living with your mom, I'd find another place. You got to start breaking free from it.
Yeah.
There's just no other way around it, or you're not going to have peace in your life. And so when you do go to give notice, I would just say something like, oh, mom, I thank you so much for this opportunity. I really enjoyed working here. I really feel like I need to go do X, Y, and Z. I want to build my resume, or if you want to change fields altogether, like I really want to go do, I want to work in graphic design. I don't want to work for the family business or whatever it is. It's not going to go over well, but it'll go over a lot better if you make it seem like, what, I think my time here is just come to an end. It'd be better for us and for our relationship. And I just need to move on. Because then she doesn't have anything to really argue about.
Yeah.
If you're making it about like, you just need to move on and do the next chapter in your life.
I agree. And I also wanted to add, I did not see your previous two comments. Now that I have seen them, I would add this, and this is until you can get out. This is how you deal with her. Pretend she hung the moon. Every time you have the opportunity to praise her, do so just while you're still there. Continue your plan to get out. But while you're dealing with her at work, at home, whatever, just focus on anything you can to lift her up, because that will make her want to pull you right up with her. It will inspire the love bombing again, at least temporarily, and it will make your life easier day to day. I'm not saying this is a long-term solution. I'm saying this is how you deal with a narcissist. If you have to, which I want to just follow that with everything that Dana said is accurate. You must get out. You must move forward. You must take care of yourself. But until then, that's what I would suggest. Okay.
And tell it like it is says, I told her I wanted a new job, and she told me that she needs me and that someday she needs for me to take over the business. And she put that burden on me. Well, but then you can put it back on her and just say, Mom, I don't think this is a good fit. I don't think I'm the right person to be running this business. I'm flattered that you would want me to take it over, but I think maybe down the road selling it would be a better option. And I just don't feel like I could follow in your footsteps, however you want to phrase things. But just because somebody put something on you doesn't mean that we have to carry it.
That's right.
Like you can just kind of bat that back to her, because it's like, no, I'm not going to keep work. I'm not going to continue to work here, and I'm not going to take over the business, and I'm not going to do all of this. And it's uncomfortable. Like having those conversations, asserting yourself is going to be uncomfortable, but I'll tell you what's more uncomfortable is living your life for her. And then waking up one day when you're 75 and looking back and being like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
it's like choosing to walk through, a wall of fire, or choosing to spend the rest of your life walking on hot coals, like a 6-inch wall of fire, or the rest of your life. I don't know if that's a bad example, but just deal with the discomfort for a second, for a few days, a few weeks, whatever it is. And then the rest of your life will get better.
Yeah. And you can tell her, you know what, Mom, after you get a job lined up, okay, then tell her, I would give her the same courtesy that you would give any other employer, 2 or 3 weeks. And don't let her drag that on. Don't let her rope you into, you've got to train the new person. Mom, you don't ask her. You're not asking her opinion. You're just informing her. and this is assuming that you live on your own, because if you're living in her house and you're trying to set boundaries, that's not going to go well, and expect to have her cut off support. So assuming that you're on your own, just letting her know, hey mom, I've found a job. I know you need me. I know that this means a lot for you to have me working here, but I really want to take this job. I want to build my resume. I'm officially turning in my 3 weeks or my 2 weeks or whatever it is. I just wanted to let you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then if she says, oh, well, I just need you to stay, I just need you to do the X, Y, and Z. Mom, I can't. I'm starting this new job in 2 weeks. It's going to be, my time is going to be spent there. I can't be driving all over town, or that's just not going to work for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then letting it go. It's going to be difficult, no joke, but there is no choice really,
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. Yep. Yep. And the Shamrock says, doesn't that just end up more manipulation of you in the process, talking about how to deal with the narcissist while you're there? Yep. But I think that knowing what you're doing so intentionally just to make the days go by easier while you're working to get out of there. I mean, for me, if I have to fake it a little bit just to not have to deal with the BS, I'll fake it. I don't care. That's me. I would rather have a smoother ride than if I know I'm on my way out and I know I just have to do this much, I have to work these many weeks or whatever it is I'm doing to get out, then I'm just going to try to make the rest of the time I'm there as easy as possible. And this is how you do that. That's the only reason I brought that out. Not because I'm saying, oh, this is how you live with him forever, because that's not sustainable forever, but it is for short periods of time, and it will make your days go by faster and easier. That's all I was saying. Go ahead, Dana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think you got to do what you got to do. I mean, there's been situations where I've had, narcissistic coworkers, and I've just been like, okay, I'm just going to play this game, and it's a game, and I'm going to smile and nod and just do whatever it's like if you're being held captive. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to just kind of do what you need to do in order to get out of there. So like, you don't want to have like that open, honest, sincere, solutions oriented communication with a terrorist. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're playing chess. Yeah. And so it's sort of like, I just need to get out of here by any means necessary and guard my safety and sanity, because this other person is looking to win. They're not looking to create a mutual solution here.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Absolutely. Do you have a question for us? We're just about to wrap up, I think. So let's maybe do one more each or something.
Let's see. I don't, but I'm looking for one.
Joanne Gerke asks, where did I meet my husband? She just wants, but I'll tell you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? I think I'm unstable. Okay. Joanne asked, where did I meet my husband? Because she just wants to meet a nice, good guy. I met my husband online. How about that? But it was 16, 17 years ago. So it's different, but it was a different place, a different landscape back then. I can give you plenty of tips for finding, for catching fake profiles, for catching scammers, all that kind of stuff. And I'd be happy to do a video on that if you like. But I think today the most websites are flooded with BS and jerks. So you have to really, it's like going through I think we talked about, like, I think going to the Goodwill and digging through the bins or the, 99-cent store or whatever people go to and finding the one gem in the big pile of crap, is what it really is now. And even then it wasn't as pure as one would hope. I just got lucky, honestly. And it was I only talked with 2 or 3 people back then, all through, desktop computers. We didn't have, our phones couldn't do that back then. They were not on the internet. Not mine anyway. And I had just gotten internet in my house, and I was just, my aunt said, you should really try this. And I'm like, no way. Ew, no. And I did, and I tried it, and well, here we are. But my situation is not a great example, because it's not, I think I got lucky. I didn't even know what a narcissist was. at that time. And it wasn't until several years later that I realized that something was seriously wrong with my mother, and that it turned out that I wasn't the piece of crap I thought I was. And doing the research, I learned about narcissism. Then I recognized that my ex-husband was a narcissist, and my mother was a narcissist, and several other people in my life had been narcissists. But up to that point, or toxic anyway, up to that point, I was clueless. I just thought I was the bad one. So I just have to say I just got lucky. I don't know that that's what you want to hear, but it's the truth. Anyway, Dana, you got one for us? Yeah, Deb, the internet has changed. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Mary is talking about bankruptcy and stuff. And she says, I can't claim bankruptcy because I'm told I'm judgment proof. This leaves me in a bad way. Normally the phrase judgment proof is somewhat positive for you, meaning that you don't have a lot to lose.
Right.
So like people can try to sue you, but they've got nothing to gain. Normally, I mean, unless you've claimed bankruptcy within like the past 7 years, you can claim it, either Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. So I would talk to an attorney, a bankruptcy attorney, about that and get clarity on what all is going on, like what your options really are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. My pleasure, Joanne. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not sure what the question was. What was the question about? She said she's judgment proof.
Yeah, it was just more of a comment. She was saying something about she can't claim bankruptcy because she's told she's judgment proof, which puts her in a bad situation. But those two things have nothing to do with one another, which is what like I said, normally judgment proof means that you've got no assets and no money and no potential of like having money anytime soon. So like that if a person tries to sue you, that they're not going to get anything.
Right.
So you're actually on that end of it, you're the one that's kind of sitting pretty. But bankruptcy stuff, people can file for bankruptcy. So talk to a bankruptcy attorney and get more clarity about your situation.
Yep, I agree. And one more thing I just wanted to, Dayani, who is new, by the way, welcome, said, are cheaters temporary narcissists? Of course, that question was quickly answered by Deb, who says there's no such thing as a temporary narcissist, which I agree. But I want to point out something. I do not believe that every person who cheats in a relationship is a narcissist. And the reason I say that is because there are circumstances that you might, not that it's okay, but under which you might understand. For example, if you have a spouse who's terminally ill and you can't be involved physically with them for 15 years. I mean, I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm saying people need physical affection sometimes. I'm not saying it's okay for somebody to cheat on somebody who never looks at them or who never pays attention to them or whatever. I'm not saying it's okay. It's not okay. But I don't think everybody who cheats is a narcissist. I do think a large majority of them are, but I do not think, because there are serial cheaters. There are people who just naturally cheat on everybody they're with. Those people obviously don't have any empathy. They don't care about the other person enough to not do that. And this happens, but in general, I think there are exceptions to that rule, I guess is my point. Thoughts, Dana?
Yeah, I think, if a person's acting narcissistically to where they're cheating, where they're deceiving their partner and they're going around behind their back and, or if this is how, I can't think of any situation where like cheating would be like a positive.
No, and I wasn't
a non-problem, right? So
right. It's always a problem.
It's always a problem. So like either that's how they handle frustration or sex. It shows that there's probably a huge breakdown of communication in their own relationship. I think this extreme situations that you're talking about, Angie, like where people just kind of fade away in a marriage and that person's been faithful for 27 years and their partner's been terminally ill or something happens like that. But even then, I think in those situations, there still needs to be that open, honest, sincere, solutions-oriented communication. And I will say too, that there's a lot of narcissists and sociopaths out there that will say all kinds of stuff. They will say, one of mine had said that his wife kept lying about having cancer. and that he kept going back to her, and that she was the manipulative one, and that he hadn't moved out yet because he felt sorry for her, but that they were in separate bedrooms and that there was nothing between them, and blah, blah, blah. It was all a lie.
Yeah.
So they will tell you all kinds of things. So, you know, if somebody's cheating, it's a problem. To me, it shows, especially if it's like Angie's saying, if it's a chronic thing or they've done this multiple times in a relationship, it just shows that they're not emotionally invested and they don't care.
Right.
And
I agree. Yeah.
I remember one of the things, my ex, when I actually did end up, his wife, which I thought they were divorced, his wife and I got to talking, and she had made a comment and she said, well, you know, he told me that, you know, you didn't mean anything to him. And I said, well, yeah, I would agree. That much is true. He didn't tell me that, but I said, but what does that mean about your marriage? If he was willing to throw everything away for you, for somebody that meant nothing to him,
right,
then obviously your marriage means even less.
Right.
So like, let's get it straight. Let's not make me the problem here, because you know what I mean? Like, he's the problem, but whatever.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. And the other thing I want to say about what I said is the only reason I brought this up is because I've had a few clients over the years who are not narcissists tell me that they did this thing or that thing for this reason or that reason. And because I heard the whole story and the whole situation, I was able to kind of, and I'm not saying it's right, but I was able to see why they would do what they did.
Oh, totally. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, if a person's in like a sexless marriage or, you know, whatever, like I can see it. But if you're seeing,
then yeah,
it just takes time. Like, you just have to know a person for a long enough period of time. And especially if you're meeting people online, just realize that that's very common for them to say, oh, my ex knows we have an open marriage, or they're sick, or they have cancer, or, you know, they're asexual and they want me to go find a new partner. They'll say all kinds of stuff, and it's generally all a lie.
And yeah, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to be anybody's second anything. And regardless of their reason for cheating, I want to say something else. If in my relationship cheating would occur, then that would be it. And that's one of the deal breakers in my relationship. So I think that's another thing to consider, you know, what your own deal breakers are. Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah, totally. Okay. So Dana, any final words for our amazing community today?
I guess, you know, it's just, I guess, to just kind of beat this drum some more, it's about knowing your boundaries and your standards and your deal breakers, like turning inward and getting clear on that. I see time and time again, and I know Angie does too, where people are like, but what about if, you know, this person's really immature and they yell and they do this and that and this, but, you know, are they a narcissist? Or it's like, if you can flip this and figure out and go for healthy, like, what is healthy for you?
Yeah.
Most likely going to include open, honest, sincere, solutions-oriented communication. Like, that's not going to be found with a person who's immature. That's not going to be found with a person who's a pathological liar or cheater, or who's showing you signs that they don't have a moral compass. You know, find healthy and follow that. Like, nothing else is going to work. It might work in the short term, you know, by keeping a job with a narcissistic parent, or keeping a relationship going because you're lonely, or what have you. But it's when you do that, when you're continually going for plan B or C, it's your life is, take my word for it, like, your life is just going to be a series of starting over, because it's not worth it, because your inner self deep down knows, like, I need to go for plan A. Like, nothing else is going to fulfill me. Like, I need to have quality relationships in my life. I need to do what I love for a living. Like, I need to be in that zone. But find your zone. Is, you know, like, you know, that's the cool thing, is this stuff never goes away. It's all within you right now. It's just figuring it out for yourself.
That's so true. So true. And on every level. And
yes,
never settle. Again, we've all settled before, but let's all today decide, I will not settle again. Tell yourself that I will not settle again. and mean it and follow through, because you deserve the best according to you, not according to someone else.
Yep.
All right.
Sounds good. Okay.
Thanks,
Well,
everybody. Thanks, Dana. Appreciate
thank you. And we'll see you guys next week over on my channel, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep. She's Thrive After Abuse here, Thrive After Abuse on Facebook, everywhere. ThriveAfterAbuse.com. Go subscribe. Make sure you're signed up. All right. Thanks for being a part of my day and a part of my life, everybody. Thanks for letting me be a part of yours. And Dana, you know I love you. See you soon.
Yeah, ditto. Bye.
All right. Bye. All right. Let's see. And